So we've talked about how carbohydrates go from plate to muscle and that catabolic mechanisms of digestion and absorption. Now I want to talk about how they play a role in exercise and the recommendations of intake. So carbs come in, as you know, many different shapes and sizes, and they are the sole energy source for the central nervous system. Nerves, unlike muscles, can't store glucose as glycogen like muscles and liver can. They have to use blood glucose. So we must consume glucose in our diet, or the body has to produce glucose some other way to maintain a functioning, healthy body. In addition, we can't get intense without glucose. Whenever our heart rate raises, we get to that anaerobic energy production. Anaerobic, we need glucose or glycogen in its storage form to metabolize for quick ATP production. It's also got a role in fat metabolism as well as our overall health, as good sources of carbs are full of vitamins, minerals, fiber, and phytochemicals, all plant sources. Now we rank carbohydrates based on a glycemic index, or GI for short. It's a scale of 0 to 100 that ranks how quickly those carbohydrate sources get to blood glucose. If it has a high number, like 100, it's very quick. It's a simple sugar that is quickly broken down, quickly absorbed, and quickly available to the body. If it's a low number, it is more complex in structure, takes longer, and has sustained release, which is better for general exercise and health. We also have glycemic load. This is a combination of glycemic index and the volume that you're actually consuming. So how much how much glucose is actually getting in and being delivered to the blood. This is especially important to understand if you have diabetes or know someone that's struggling with that condition. The RDA for carbohydrates is 130 grams a day. We need that because that's what the brain requires and the central nervous system requires. However, we can produce 30 to 50 grams in the liver a day, so intake could be lower. However, if you want to perform at a high level, you need much more. As intense energy production, it requires carbohydrates. So if you want to work out, play a sport, you're going to be using those energy systems that need fueling. Without that fuel, you can't use them, and you won't be able to get to the intensity that you desire. The acceptable macro distribution range, which is the percent of your diet that should be carbohydrate, is 45 to 65% for general population. So the majority of your diet should come in carbohydrate form. Now this isn't just pertaining to starches like potatoes, rice, and pastas. This is looking at your vegetables and your fruits. We want a large contribution of your diet to come from those sources. 5 to 7 of those a day is ideal. In general, you need somewhere between 3 to 12 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now that's a huge range because our activity level varies so much from person to person. Some are very sedentary. If you don't get intense in the day, you don't need to fuel the body to become intense. You don't need that much carbohydrate. If you are very, very active, then you need more. And we get to those upper ends at 12 grams per kilogram of body weight. So how do we come up with these recommendations? Well, when we put someone in a lab under a controlled setting, we can monitor different parameters. As the exercise increases and intensity and the energy demand increases, so does heart rate. And this is directly correlated with the energy needs of the body. We can take a muscle biopsy of an athlete and see depletion rates of glycogen, the storage form of glucose, when performing different intensities of exercise. What we find is that when intensity is high, depletion is quicker. Along with that is that if initial glycogen storage is high, so a highly carbohydrate fed athlete, time to exhaustion is long. If someone is not fed carbohydrates and has a low starting initial glycogen level, time to exhaustion is short and they fail a lot quicker. This is even more applicable to anaerobic athletes, weight room workouts, sprinters that use fast twitch type 2 muscle fibers, as these deplete the quickest and rely on glycogen a lot more than aerobic slow twitch muscles. We also find that low carbohydrate intake impairs recovery. When carbohydrates are low, protein is used as an energy resource, and therefore it cannot be used to the subsequent repair and recovery after exercise. So that's recommendations for daily life. But what about on the day of exercise or the day of competition? The recommendation is 1 to 4 hours prior to competition, you have 1 to 4 grams of carbohydrate. You should be looking at complex, low GI carbohydrates. During competition, we want around 60 grams an hour, as carbohydrate absorption is roughly 1 gram a minute. You want high GI sources, preferably liquid, to maintain hydration, as well as glucose levels in the blood. After exercise, you want to have 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of carbohydrate. Now this is also in combination with protein, as straight after your exercise, your body's craving nutrients, where we can replenish glycogen storage, and also protein to have the subsequent repair from any damage that may have had during exercise. The recommendation here is a ratio of 10 grams of amino acids and 35 grams of high GI, fast-absorbing carbs. Roughly find 10 grams of essential amino acids in roughly 15 to 25 grams of protein. Remember, protein contains not only essential amino acids, but non-essential amino acids. And we need to ensure we get the essential ones in. Alright, so that's how the recommendations exist for use of carbohydrates during exercise. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you think you know someone that needs to hear this information and it could help them in their workouts, share it and tag them so we can share more knowledge and get better performance and better health through the community. Thanks.